is in city planning and environmental planning and public administration. But I've been retired for quite a while, and I've been doing this for a long time. Marty, do you want to tell her who you are?
Sure. Marty Kraft. I live in the urban wilderness, and it's a lot that looks different than most of the lawns. And I try to respect nature to the nth degree, whatever I can do. And then I'm also with Heartland All Species Project, which is a not-for-profit that I helped found, and it's been going on doing, it did several Earth Days, about 7 of them in Kansas City. And what else? I'm into microbes big time. They built the prairies, they built the forests with the aid of the trees and the grasses and forbs. And they can do a whole lot to turn this around too, the climate. And I'm really into that big time. So that's it.
Okay, Molly.
Hi, good afternoon. Molly Davies. I'm associate professor over at UMKC in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences. I'm the director of the Environmental Studies program and chair of our university sustainability committee. And I'm very interested in what the city is doing because they're amazing.
Michael?
Good afternoon, and welcome, Carol. Michael
Volume.
Kelly. Huh?
Volume.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. How's that?
Excellent.
Okay. My name is Michael Kelly. I'm the policy director for Bike Walk KC, and I serve on both the EMC and the Climate Protection Steering Committee. And my main focus, obviously, is on transportation and lowering emissions in that sector.
Okay, Nate?
Hello, I'm Nate Madden. I'm trying to turn my camera on. Hi, I currently work at the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. I do evaluation there. Have been doing that almost 5 years. But my main interest and expertise, I guess, is on climate policy adoption and outcomes. I wrote my dissertation on that. And so sort of am always interested in the policy and policy advocacy side of things.
DJ?
I also am going to turn my camera on for this. I'm in my toddler's room, so I got, kids, trucks, and tractors on the wall. So I'll turn it off. I think if my camera even cooperates with me. But DJpierre, I've been on the commission now, man, for it's probably been about 5 years. I think it was appointed by the previous mayor and retained by this one. My day job is I'm an attorney at Spencer Fane in our government affairs group. And I do a little bit of litigation as well. And so, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. It's good. Nice that we finally are filling a vacancy on this.
Thank you. And Ben, I see you're with us.
Yes. So we have a new member of the EMC. Sorry, I'm joining a few minutes late here.
Yes, I'm Carol Mackin. I'm with Evergy, and I will turn my camera on so you can see who I am as well. So there you go. So yeah, they're just kind of doing some introductions right now so I can see and get acquainted with folks since we're doing this virtually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so Ben Proffer, been on the commission as long as DJ has, was also appointed by Sly James. A day job, I work as a manager at the community recycling centers in Kansas City for Bridging the Gap. And I am also producing a forthcoming podcast called American Green, which is a community activating podcast of climate solutions. So it's centered around the various things that we can do to move the dial on the stuff that we really care about.
Okay, well, let's move ahead with the agenda. There are some guests, and as you speak, if you'll introduce yourself, that will help all of us, but especially our new member. And the reason you all never see me is that camera on my computer doesn't work. So if I talk on my phone, I can be visible, but if I talk on my computer, I'm invisible. Are there any additions or corrections to the December 2021 minutes? If not, can they be approved as written? Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion by Michael Kelly.
Second by Ben Proffer.
Okay, can you all use your little raise hand feature on the screen? All in favor, try raising our hand. Okay. Any opposed? Raise your hand, same sign.
They have to put their hand down.
Oh, no, sorry. I have to put it down.
Okay, any opposed?
No, there's not opposed. Gloria's not opposed. She's for.
Ah,
She doesn't, I'm just having a hard time using my thing.
yeah, Gloria, we have a new commissioner, and if you would just briefly tell her who you are.
Okay. I'm Gloria Fisher. I work for an organization, a nonprofit that's called Westside Housing. We service, or we do housing in the area of Westside, Midtown, and the Northeast neighborhoods along Independence Avenue from Paseo all the way to Hardesty. So it's most of Independence Avenue. We have the largest minor home repair program in the city for a community development corporation. So last year we did about $1.5 million with the home repair. And before you get impressed with that number, let me say that it's about a $10,000 fix for a home. So we touched about 150 homes, which is a small amount of homes when you think of all of Midtown, all of Westside, and all of Northeast. We didn't touch that many homes, but it is a very good program that might give Mary a roof or somebody siding or new windows. It's about $10,000 worth of improvement to a home. On a smaller home that would go far, on a larger home it would not go as far. So it's not as big a gift. We do many of our programs, you have to be 80% of medium income. So for a single person, that's somebody making less than $32,000 a year. Quite honestly, more than 50% of our customers are seniors that are just on a fixed income and don't have the money to repair their roof or to do the siding or fix the driveway or paint the house or windows. So it's a very big help that allows some seniors that want to stay in their home and they have some big deferred maintenance. We can get that done for them. On top of that, we have apartments right now. All of our apartments are on the west side, and we have 183 units that we're managing, and we're getting ready to open 20 more units this year. I'm pretty excited about that. Finally, my big first project that I've been working on for some time. We'll add 20 more units, which is, again, a drop in the bucket to what Kansas City needs, but it's additional units that will be out there for people. And COVID is running rapid right now in our properties as well as, every Monday I kind of brace myself for who's going to be at work and who's not. We're a small team of 10, and so having 2 people out is a big deal in my office because, how do we get all the work done? So, so we're trying to keep our doors clean. The common area space is what we really watch and clean often so that people hopefully can stay in their homes and safe and not sick and not spreading. So pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
No, I don't have anything else. I don't have
Okay.
anything else.
All right, let's go ahead and go to item C. The letter that
Wait, Carol, I'm sorry, I missed it. Can Carol Mackin, can you kind of introduce yourself and what you are interested in environmentally and what you do for Evergy, please?
Sure. I will be glad to do that. Here, I will turn my camera on once again so you can see me as I talk. I've been with Evergy for almost 34 years, and right now I am the Senior Community Business Manager. So I deal with the political side as well as the operations side. And, you know, I was asked by Mayor Lucas if I'd be interested in serving on this committee or on this commission. And I said that I was. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of environmental issues and concerns that dealing with an electric utility such as Evergy. So that's really, you know, I see this as a component of my job in dealing with the city and being involved in that, as well as being a liaison between Evergy and the city and the commission on environmental issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead to item C. I think that we have 3 people in attendance at the meeting that were participants in a phone call with the city manager's office that occurred after we sent our letter regarding the organization of OEQ, the proposed organizational change that we approved and discussed at our last meeting. And so I think the 3 of us can report on our perspectives of that call. I would like to start the conversation by saying that it appeared that the manager's office was not receptive to our argument and had already determined that the organizational change was to occur as they proposed. Michael, would you like to add anything?
I will add that Melissa from the city manager's office, and I'm blanking on her last name, so forgive me, had also invited Forrest Decker, the new neighborhood department head, to be in the meeting as well. I think beyond that, I don't really have much to add, except that I did walk away with the feeling that the manager's office does appear to have made their decision on how they would like to move forward with this.
Forrest, would you like to make any comments? And Melissa is also attending the meeting, I see, as both as guests, but this is certainly a conversation they were party to.
Hi, everybody. Forrest Decker, Director of Neighborhood Community Services. No, I don't have any comments. I'll await your report. I'll defer to Melissa if she has any, but I'm just here to listen to your discussion.
Hi there. Some of you I know, great to see you again. Some of you I've not met, so thank you for allowing me the opportunity to check in with you all. I don't have a lot. I don't want to take over your meeting. Like Forrest said, we just kind of came to listen and just to show our support to the work that you guys are doing. I guess the one thing that I would say is that the transition of the neighborhoods department is an exciting one for us. It is one that transitions the neighborhoods department in particular into one that focuses on neighborhoods and community services, as well as abatement of concerns. We know that in the past, our neighborhoods department has been largely focused on ticketing and enforcement of codes, and we do not feel that that is the best way to create active, vibrant neighborhoods. So we are looking to create a department that is community driven and responsive. And so the transition of the neighborhoods department, and that does include moving several offices, including 311, BizCare, our new digital equity office, our new arts and culture office, Office of Environmental Quality into one that can be more responsive and has more support through the departmental structure. To us, it's an administrative change. We believe that our office is going to lead the organization, which is going to lead the city into being the greenest city in the United States of America. We had a call just yesterday on our feasibility study for the 500 megawatt solar array at the airport, which is exciting and transformational for Kansas City and positions Kansas City uniquely to be a leader in the nation on what a municipality can do when the entire organization is focused on sustainability as a goal. So, you know, organizational structure being what it may, totally understand the concerns of some of the folks on the call, and also remain committed to the goal of bringing to light all of the work that Kansas City has already done and will continue to do to make Kansas City visibly out loud and proud the greenest city in the United States of America.
Okay, I would reiterate the situation that we did feel that the organizational move was not in the best interest of the long-term economic health of the city. And that is not, and this was an important part of the call, that is not a reflection on any existing staff person. That's a reflection on the perspective we had about the organizational structure, even looking past the current staffing, which we certainly have considerable respect for. So there's no question in our confidence with Forrest or with Andy or anything like that, but there is a sentiment that this is not the best place for the OEQ function to reside, particularly long-term, as there's a transition in leadership over the years. Having said that, I don't personally recommend additional correspondence on this topic. But I am open to the wishes of the commissioners. So please, if any of the rest of you would like to offer suggestions, the floor is yours.
If you don't mind, I'll chime in real quick. Hey, Melissa, it's DJ. Back-to-back days for you and I. My camera's not working though. I just want to say a couple things. One, I have worked with Melissa quite a bit with the Central City Sales Tax Board, and she is very good at what she does and is incredibly responsive. And so I am glad to see her here and her involvement in this. I have no doubt, you know, in the future, regardless of you know, the administrative change, that if there's a concern or something that needs to be addressed, that you know, she's a great person to reach out to on that point. And for Melissa and Forrest, you and I have not had a chance to meet. I'll reach out to you at some point here. But I think what the concern of the commission is it's kind of similar to some of the stuff we dealt with CCD, Melissa, in that, you know, folks sometimes respond a little differently within City Hall when something comes out of the city manager's office. And I think the commissioners really would just want to make sure that if this does go to neighborhoods, which sounds like it is, that you know, that anything that comes down from OEQ will still have kind of the full force and attention of the rest of the building when necessary. And that's all I got.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, so I talked to someone else who I think was in attendance with that meeting, and I guess one of the things that was raised is that moving OEQ is going to give them more resources, not fewer. And so I was wondering from Melissa, you know, what additional support is OEQ going to get by working in your office?
So to be clear, they won't be working in my office directly. We're moving all staff supervision out of the manager's office. for the purpose of providing additional support within the departmental structure. I think Forrest, having been with the organization for many years, can speak to the value of a strong team, well-led department and the support that it offers. If you're willing to jump in on that one, Forrest.
Yeah, so Ben, your question specifically was kind of about what additional support that they would have. So being housed in a department instead of the city manager's office gives some direct support in the area of a defined fiscal officer, a defined human resources officer that reports to that department that would service them directly. So, you know, there's that benefit that they have direct access to those resources at all times, and that those resources would be working directly for them to help them out in those areas. Additionally, you know, we will have, you know, 150 staff altogether in neighborhoods that will all be working towards similar common goals. And they will be able to rely upon the expertise of those other staff, and also some of the staff that we have in the field as well to help implement or gather data or whatever else is needed to help support the mission of OEQ as well. So, where in the city manager's office, you've got 3 or 4 people. I mean, you just don't have the human resources, the human capacity.
And so practically what that looks like in terms of, aside from the dedicated staffing infrastructure that is provided, an example would be our 311 office currently does lots and lots of community meetings and coordinates with neighborhood directly. Right now, there is no direct relationship between 311 and OEQ. But in the departmental structure, Forrest is having regular meetings with division directors so that everybody in the department is aware of what everybody else is doing, which amplifies OEQ's message specifically through the department, as opposed to coming up through the manager and then back down in a more time sensitive way, right? Because the city manager's office, we have lots of things. If anybody watched our committee meetings today, you saw some of the immediate challenges that took the entire city manager's office away from what they were doing, and instead responding to the comments and concerns of the council and the committee members. And so that is the kind of support that OEQ and all of the offices that were housed in the manager's office were struggling with while they were having direct supervision from the manager's office. When we get pulled away from things, we can't answer questions that could be answered immediately or, you know, within a relatively, you know, professional timeline that they could be if they were housed within a better departmental structure, if that makes any sense.
I see that Molly had a question in the chat. Molly, did you want to share your question?
Sure. I wasn't at the December meeting. My apologies. I had COVID. But so I missed a lot of the discussion, and it was really important. But OEQ does so much more than neighborhoods. I mean, it does neighborhoods, and that's very important, but it does other things as well. Will it still be able to do those things from this new reorganization? It actually does assessment of, you know, city sustainability goals on buildings and things, collecting data. It interacts with energy and water. So can that be done within this new organization?
It's a great point, and I appreciate you bringing that up. In fact, after that meeting, I was talking to Forrest about how we can better frame what the neighborhoods department is going to be doing. Because to your point, yes, they certainly do. And also, so does 311, and so does BizCare, and so will our Arts and Culture office and our Digital Equity office. So maybe the word neighborhoods isn't the right word anymore, maybe with our new vision of what the neighborhoods department is, doesn't allow that, maybe the word isn't appropriate enough anymore for what our vision is. And it's a great point. And we just started having that conversation after the December meeting, and we'll continue to kind of work through that. Open to suggestions for certain. What we do know is that the most important thing for us in this new department structure is the collaborative nature of it. It is not that we anticipate that all of these divisions within the department will be solving all of its own problems, but instead coordinating with departments and stakeholders across the organization and frankly across the city to solve the problems. So maybe there is an opportunity for us to find a better name, a more appropriate name that really does demonstrate the collaborative and problem solving future of the department. So great point. And thank you for saying that.
Is there anyone else that wants to participate in this discussion before we move on?
Well, I would hate to see the neighborhoods lose clout too.
Right.
I don't know what you want to do about that. The advantages sound interesting, but you know, everything environmental, well, maybe not. The neighborhood is a sleeping giant.
Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to our next item, item D. We need to start planning early for putting together our annual report. And I'm going to suggest that this year we're going to need to provide a lot of input about the next steps for the climate resiliency planning. And so I'm looking for a work group that wants to roll up their sleeves and get started on this as soon as we get the first drafts of the plan for review and comment, and can start putting it together. Volunteers? Good. Carol, Molly's volunteering.
This is Nate Madden. Count me in, Carol.
Okay, Nate.
Hey, Nate.
Sorry, I raised my hand too.
Oh, who is that? Ben?
Ben.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this work group that we've just identified, these three, I will be on the work group as well, but it is not a closed work group. So if anybody else wants to be on it, you don't have to speak now. You can add your name at any time.
We worked really hard on last year's, and I think we're in a pretty good position this year.
Yeah, I think we can start. Yeah, I think we can start. Well, just as a matter of background, and I think I've mentioned this to you guys before, but I spoke to Laura when they were working on the plan and asked her to be sure that the consultants had our rather extensive 2019 report, which covered a wide variety of environmental concerns. And then also our most recent report that was more focused on climate issues. And I told her that the report that Michael did for us, the PowerPoint report, was a report that was intended to cover the spectrum of issues, but in a format that would be palatable and easy to understand for the new council. And that was also important, but it might not contain as much new information as the other two did. And so I think we have some pretty good documents to start from, but hopefully the plan will take us on much broader paths. Do we have any other comments or suggestions? Right. In the chat, Laura's highlighting that she sent all of those different annual reports, 2019, 2020, and 2021, to the consultants who are doing the plan. If there's no further discussion, let's go ahead with Laura to talk about the climate protection and resiliency plan.
Okay, so quick update on where we are in the plan. We finished the strategy prioritization sessions last month before Christmas break. And thank you to everybody, both on the commission and just guests here today that actually participated in that process. It was great we had a lot of people at the strategy sessions, a lot more than we expected. So many so that we had to close the sessions the Friday before just to make sure we could get everybody the documentation. But we got the spreadsheets filled out pretty well. And then because we did have to close the sessions and some folks couldn't make the meetings, we also kept the prioritization spreadsheets open for a few additional weeks after that so that people could go on the Google Doc online and put in their comments. And from there, the consultants used that to sort of draft up our near-term implementation plan, which is in process. It's in process and probably won't be completed right at the time of the draft plan, which is fine. It's an appendix, mainly because we still need to hold some internal strategy prioritization sessions because some of the directors and key city staff and departments that would be responsible for these various areas were not able to attend those strategy sessions. And we, I think Andy sent out the spreadsheet to the directors today. If not, it's going out very soon. And then we're going to try to set those meetings up with staff internally for the end of January or early February, just to get their input on what's already being done, what we don't have the resources to implement, what they've been wanting to implement, so we can feed into sort of those priorities for the city on the plan. After that process, we're going to get moving on the draft. Brindle sent the draft plan to OEQ, the very draft plan, whereas it's got a couple of graphs in it, no photographs yet, no call outs, still some lorem ipsum text, but they sent that for our input just on format and if we were covering everything, if they were covering everything we thought needed to be covered. Our staff input went to them last week and they are now working on adding the photos and getting that draft ready for public consumption. The next step is they're going to send that to the Climate Protection Steering Committee prior to their January 24th meeting. I'm not sure how prior. They're working pretty hard to get that plan in shape so that the steering committee can have some time to look over it. So if you are interested in previewing the early draft plan, please attend that Climate Protection Steering Committee meeting on January 24th. And I think that one's going to go 3 to 5. We extended it a little bit because of the plan. Brindle will be presenting to the CPSC that night and taking questions from them and then incorporating that into the plan, the draft plan that we send out to the general public. So after that CPSC meeting, they'll make additional edits. We'll put it out for community review for approximately a month to get community input. We'll reopen the Bang the Table site and we'll be sending, we'll send out a newsletter for all of you that are registered there. So it will come to you to let you know that the plan's up for review. Also, we're going to be reactivating our climate justice workers to make sure that the plan gets out to those original stakeholder groups that we reached out to in the beginning. And the Climate Protection Steering Committee meeting it'll be a virtual meeting. So I think that was a question that came on. Okay, Rachel's got that. So while the community is reviewing the draft plan, which is right now right around 70 pages, we will continue to work internally with Brindle on finalizing the technical appendices that go with that, which includes filling out that strategy implementation guide past the near-term strategies, getting the education outreach toolkit, and kind of finalizing our metrics collection on the outreach we did before to see where we really need to make sure we reach out to move the needle on equity as we actually go into implementation and the really important policy and procedure making for the plan, as well as some of our reporting templates. And then we're hoping that we'll get about a month's worth of community input, and then hoping to have a final plan to council sometime in March. We're hoping for March right now. We never know what can go on, especially since this is budget season for council. So things tend to get bumped when with budget hearings and other things that are really integral to that super important process. But we're hoping for adoption in March. That's my quick and speedy climate plan update. Anybody have any questions?
No questions. Just thank you, Laura, for your work on this. Definitely looking forward to seeing more of what's being worked on. So thank you.
Thank you for your input, Michael. You've been pretty useful in this process.
I think that we should all recognize the OEQ staff and Laura in particular, but they have all been working really hard on this, and it's been a lot.
Literally all of them were pulling in compliance people on their downtime to help with plan things as well. So, and it was great. We had an intern from Park Hill that came in for a while, Matthew, who helped us out as well. So there's been a lot of folks really involved, and I appreciate all the assistance.
Yeah, and I would echo that as well. Laura's been doing a great job as project manager. And with all the changes with Jerry retiring and all that, we've been shifting assignments all across our group. So if some folks are doing some things they're not used to doing, but it's been a team effort all across the board. So I've been pretty happy with the team overall. So again, thanks to the group.
Well, Laura, do you want to just take a breath and we'll move on to Andy? There you go. There you go.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to keep mine fairly brief. Just a quick summary of a couple of projects that you've all been tracking. First off, today was a big day for the Streetlight Conversion program that went to TIO today in terms of a staff recommendation for a contract with Black & McDonald. So this is to convert approximately 84,000 streetlights to LED. Starting hopefully May 1st of our new fiscal year. So that made it through committee today and on to full council on Thursday. So no decisions in terms of color, temperature, or those kinds of questions on dimmers and that kind of technology. There is still, there will be demonstration projects that Streets and Traffic is working on setting up for the community to be able to at least kind of check out the LEDs that are already in place. And some of them, as we've discussed, already installed along Berry Road or Bannister Road. But there'll be more details to come in terms of the demonstration projects. So that is finally on its way to council. Any questions about that?
This is sort of a strange suggestion, but is there any chance that we could get the location of those demonstration projects on the water bill insert and encourage people to go by and see them?
That's a good question. I will probably bring that up with our communications folks. That is to be discussed as how we get the word out. I'm not sure what percentage of the citizens receive water bills still. We've been really trying to push them to, auto pay. So, and there's usually a cost to the department on that, but certainly something we can look at is an option.
Well, I'm an auto pay customer, and I still get a piece of paper. But they usually have an insert that has, sometimes it's the trash pickup, something else that you could include it as a small item, not as a feature.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, certainly, communications, we had a meeting about this. It's probably been a couple of months about what the communications plan was. So we'll need to revisit that. We've really been focusing on the actual evaluation of the bids and getting the contract to council at this point. So we need to revisit that, the demonstration projects to get that set up. But thank you for the suggestion. I'll take it to the communications.
Are we, on the lights, are we going to go with a high power or dimming, or, I mean?
Well, and that's the question that it's to be, we'll do the demonstration projects, and those specific decisions haven't been made per se. I know we've discussed the color temperatures, the main concern, the 3,000 versus the 4,000. And I think that there's probably a strong possibility that the 3,000 will be considered, particularly in the residential areas. And then, if we need something more like the 4,000 in the arterials, we'll see. But that was not part of this particular phase of going to council. This was just literally getting the contract. The price was the same. Let me just say that between 3,000 or 4,000, there wasn't any difference. So that decision will still need to be made. And then in terms of dimming, that is also, it'll be kind of looked at a neighborhood by neighborhood as to whether that's necessary. And, when we talked about this, even during evaluation, we'd like to do some type of pilot projects to kind of test the technologies. There were different types of technologies that were offered in terms of being able to control these particular streetlights. So, we need more data and more experience with working with those. So one thing I think we all agreed upon is some pilot projects might make good sense before we make that decision. But this project to convert to LED, set up to be a 3-year project. And so, and the return on investment, somewhere around 7 to 8 years. It'll be somewhere around $20 million, $21 million to do this conversion.
Thanks.
Okay. Let's see. Energy code. I know a lot of you are kind of watching for that. The last Councilman Boo had asked city planning and myself to kind of look at drafting an ordinance in support of the 2021 IECC. City planning, of course, going through some turnover, and of course the retirement of Greg, the new building manager or building code official, Jeff Lee, has been working on that revision. And so I think he's getting close to a draft of that ordinance. I have a meeting with him tomorrow to kind of go over next steps and where he is in that process. So don't have much more to report out on that, just that it seems like there's progress in that area. But we'll probably talk about, engagement with the community. What does that look like? Will city planning host some specific events to bring stakeholders together to look at the draft, or whether this is, one strategy is to go directly to council and let the debate carry on through the testimony from the public and the community. So not sure yet how this is going to go, but I'll learn more tomorrow about that. Other than that, just a couple of the Solarize campaign. We're just still in the organization mode. The campaign, I brought it up last month, it's kind of a crowdsourcing type of program or project. So we're looking to put together a campaign for Kansas City here, where we can do a kind of a bulk purchasing program for folks that are interested in doing solar programs or solar installation on their property. A lot of cities that have done this have been able to drive the costs down on solar installations while adding consumer protections and other benefits. So, if we're looking at what some of the other cities have done, I've seen some numbers that kind of reflect somewhere around a 20% cost reduction on the installation costs for for cities that have really good, robust campaigns. So still trying to reach out, kind of connect and get some partners on this project, but we're still at the ground level of this. So this is probably going to be a full year-long project, and as usual, I'll just keep the commission posted on and where we go, and of course be looking for support from the commission when needed.
So Andy, curious, is it something that a neighborhood can jump on board for, and would the installations have to be on the citizen's property, or could it be at a different location and then piped in?
So it is for residential property and also commercial property.
Mm-hmm. Right, so it would have to be on. The only reason that I asked that is that, so in terms of solar farms and stuff like that, there are neighborhoods of Kansas City that would probably very badly want to have this as an option,
Right.
but have too much tree cover and don't really have the space within their own property themselves.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
is there any flexibility with that?
Yeah, no, it's at this stage of the game, it's not for a community solar option.
Okay, got it.
Yep. Yep. Okay. And which actually, speaking of community solar, I noticed that Evergy, maybe Carol could comment to this, has announced they were looking to build a large solar array out on their property over on Hawthorne. So those of you that have signed up, I believe that was for the community solar project, wasn't it, Carol?
Yes, I believe it was. I'm trying to look for the information right here. So if there are questions, I can answer it.
Okay.
But yes, it should be for community solar.
Okay. Okay, I think that's about all I have, Carol, that I really have for an update at this point.
Okay, thank you. I have one liaison update, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. The Air Quality Forum did not meet this month, but the PM 2.5 work group did. And that's a work group that is concerned with breathable particulate pollution in the Kansas City area. The traditional times we have trouble with this are when the Flint Hills prescribed burns are occurring, and on July 4th. We tend to have really high peaks in this very small pollutant. But in the last year or so, we have had some pretty high peaks related to wildfires, and also the recent dust storm that we had in December. And so they're looking at what we might do, especially with communication about the dangers of breathable particulates. They tend to spike over a very short period of time. So it's tricky to figure out how exactly to communicate about it. However, some of these predictable ones, like the Kansas prescribed burns and July 4th, we certainly could do better communication about. One thing that they mentioned that may be of interest to our group is that going inside does not protect one from these breathable particulates if you have a leaky house. And so it's another situation where the same kind of insulation and tightening up of a house that you would do for energy efficiency is probably protective in some respects to the breathable fine particulates. So, and just to let you know that there's a group taking a look at this for the region. Any other liaison reports? Okay, under old business, I see several members of the work group that responded regarding Advanced KC are at the meeting, and I was going to ask Rachel if she would share on her screen the work group product that we sent to Carrie regarding Advanced KC. There we go. There we go. And I would invite any members of the work group to talk about what we sent. We tried to send, she asked for a few points regarding inclusion of environmental considerations. And so this is what we sent. Let me see if I can, let's start at the very top. Okay. All right, and then if you look at the general requirements paragraph, we talked in the general requirements we're seeing that our plan is identifying areas that are particularly vulnerable and suggesting that the general requirements for economic development might include identification of these areas. The term that they use when they're talking about economic development is that they're blighted areas. That's really not the right term for this situation, but these are areas that have adverse impacts as a result of climate change. And then the next paragraph on evaluation criteria, we suggested that there be some recognition of projects that offer innovation, particularly as it relates to the kind of things that we need to have movement on in order to get to a resilient and regenerated kind of environment, and that the evaluation criteria be broad enough to allow the introduction of this kind of a project and their consideration for economic incentives. And then the last paragraph, the last suggestion, is very much the argument that we've been making all along, that projects that receive financial benefits from the cities should have to live up to the same standards that city projects live up to. And so that's the kind of the gist of the letter that we sent. I would welcome comments from other members of the work group or anybody else about what we sent. And Andy, if you know how this was received, that would be interesting, I'm sure, to the commission as well.
Yeah, so I know they had their meeting last Friday, which was the same day that the letter was sent. So they, other than my representation of what was in the letter, which I would say that it was, I wouldn't say it was warmly received. It was kind of lukewarm. It was, you know, I think they just listened more of what I represented out of the letter. That the consideration of the scorecard needed to be a little bit more attentive to sustainability. And I think, you know, they have a draft scorecard that they were playing with, and it was just for draft, you know, initial conversations. So I think what it did, it opened up the conversation, and I think they're willing, you know, I've been invited to come back to join the committee as they work on a scorecard, but I can't speak to, you know, the letter, what happened specifically, because the timing was right at the same time they met. But I think Carrie seems to, from what I've heard or what we've talked about, is very receptive to the ideas, and I think she's really very happy that the commission submitted this letter in support of various issues. I think that's something that's been lacking up to this point, and I think this opens the door for future opportunities going down the road.
And she was going to present before the committee or the council today or tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I think that got held again. I think she needed more time to kind of digest the letter, and there were other comments being submitted from stakeholders that she was still trying to process. So I think it got held.
Not necessarily a bad thing, it sounds like.
Oh, no. I mean, she readily admitted, I mean, it was she received quite a bit of comment, and with the holidays, she needed more time to kind of digest all that information, and so that was the last I heard, is that she needed at least another week or two to look at it.
My sound is off. Do the rest of you have trouble hearing?
No, I can hear everybody.
Oh, okay.
I can hear.
Well, Andy, I
Yep.
thought you faded out.
Well, so one thing that I will say that we did talk about in the working group that is just a general good idea that I've talked to a number of people about is just making the whole scorecard and the whole review process much more, not just transparent, but proactively informative to the public, especially when it comes to developments that are going to be happening in their own backyard. And it's not specific to sustainability or climate change or regeneration or green infrastructure, but supporting greater outreach, I know was something that people were in agreement about. It needs to be a lot more prominent.
Unless there are other comments, we'll just put this under old business that we'll keep following up from meeting to meeting and see how it progresses, unless some specific questions come up. And if Carrie wants to come and visit with us again, she would certainly be welcome. Under new business, I wondered if you all have suggestions for our agenda next month. I think we will probably be ready to spend time on the draft of the climate planning. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is Andy, does that timing look good for you?
Yep.
Okay. We'll get a report and see where we are in the building code. And Molly had asked a question about something in their email. Molly, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I had just been wondering if there was something about houseless, because last winter was so very cold and there was a lot of attention on it, and I'm just wondering if there's some role for us in addressing that, and I didn't want it to just not be visible.
Molly, I'm sorry, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, we had spent some time discussing it at one of our meetings in previous winters, and it's sort of, we discuss it during the winter and we don't seem to discuss it any other time the year. And I know there's some things happening around the city, and I don't know how this plays into, this investment and development, because those are disinvested folks, so they don't usually play into all this TIF money and things like that. I don't know. I'm still searching for a connection for us too. But we don't talk about this community, and it's really important. And how do we make it sustainable? And is that just going to be a private sector? Is that just going to be city stuff? Are there things that we can maybe suggest? Although the letter's already gone in, and I thought the letter was really good. But it occurred to me that all that investment doesn't really touch on some of these communities. That's all. I don't know what anybody else sort of thinking.
No, I mean, I think that we've definitely talked about it in the past, and I've met just as a community activist with KC tenants and been to a bunch of their meetings and talked about their housing trust fund, and they're really, nearing utopian ideas for how to create sustainable housing, both financially in terms of communities, people, everybody who needs a house has a house, and those kinds of ideas. And they've been remarkably successful at it. I think that the handcuffs that they have are the same that we would face in talking about it in terms of sustainability, in that the type of tight structure and energy efficiency and all of that kind of stuff is going to cost a lot of money to develop. In my own kind of environmental utopian ideas for it, they get the taxes levied, they take some money away from the Kansas City Police Department, which is one of the things that they wanted to do in the first place, and then they leverage that money to have the sustainable and affordable housing be an incubator for developers to work on and practice passive house multifamily structures. Because if there's a community that deserves and needs 90% less utility bill, I can't think of that community as anybody else. Yeah, there absolutely is overlap, but I'm not sure what opportunities the EMC has to enter that conversation.
Okay.
Maybe the summer's going to be our better window, Molly, because that's when people suffer from heat.
That's true. That's very true. And air pollution. And now we have communities all over the world who now wear masks and are familiar with wearing masks.
Right.
So when there's a burn in Kansas, put your mask on. And it took the US so long to get to 2.5 PM. But there are smaller particles, and we don't regulate that. The Europeans do, but we don't. And
yeah, that's true.
I can't imagine what that battle would look like in the United States, going down to smaller particle levels. But
well, yeah, wait till we talk about the 4th of July.
Oh, Carol gone.
Oh my God.
Molly?
Yeah.
Would you like me to reach out to my contacts at KC Tenants and just ask them directly if there's a way that we can support those efforts? I think you turned off your mic again.
There are a couple of, I've been to a couple of those, but absolutely, Ben, see what they have to say. Summer heat is a great one that we can.
Okay, I will.
There is one, isn't there a group building a tiny house village similar to Veterans Village for the homeless? I think it's on the Kansas side. Nobody know about that?
I think that's correct. I don't know. My friend at CHWC, it's Community Housing in Wyandotte County, is doing some stuff, and I think he's got some ownership in it, but he's not leading the charge on it. But there is something being done with a small home community in Kansas, and I think it's downtown KC. Yep.
And Gloria, how are the container apartment building next to you going?
You know, for about 15 months now, maybe 18, I haven't really clocked it very well. I just, occasionally I come down Southwest Boulevard and it feels like the containers aren't moving. And I tested it with a couple of my board members last month and just said, it seems like it's been a very long time since we containers landed and then they've just stayed. Now, I honestly don't know if it's a permitting issue at Kansas City? Because that's what I hear from my developer friends is just permitting moves very, very, very slowly. So getting things through Kansas City permitting and all working right. And it doesn't matter if it's winter or summer, you know, ideally with our developers, if we could be working in the good weather, we'd like to be. But that the containers seem to be on pause, and I don't know what not knowing who's leading it or what is the cause of it. I don't know.
Do we have visitors that want to add some comments or remarks? David?
Mic's off, Dave.
David, turn your mic on.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I initially said told Carol I'd be nice in my comments, and so I'll say it again. I'll try to be nice. The whole thing around transfer of the Office of Environmental Quality to neighborhoods. It's very counterintuitive to me. I very much agreed with the letter that was sent. It seems to me to point to the glaring need for an entirely new and created department in the city focused specifically on reducing environmental footprint. It's very counterintuitive to me that the neighborhoods would have that kind of universal scope. Maybe they can develop that, but I don't know enough to go beyond just what I said, but I really do think that the city should develop an entirely new department with universal authority and influence, with a very robust budget just for them only. And the other thing is, people use the phrase climate change when in reality it's global warming. And climate change is a part of global warming. So just kind of to make that particular point, and not only is it global warming, but it's the sixth mass extinction of species, and that both of these events are existential in nature. And I hope that the Neighborhoods Committee understands that. So. That's it.
Billy also had his hand up. Oh, sorry.
Did Professor Davies want to go ahead and speak first? Then?
No, I was just saying thank you, David, for your comments.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for making the time to allow the public to offer comments, and Happy New Year to all. Billy Davies, he, him, 6th District resident in Kansas City. And just wanted to say thanks to the commission for its just kind of looking, obviously we're in this time of reflection, resolutions, looking ahead. I appreciate all of the commission's work and the work of a lot of our community advisory boards over the last year, from everything from weighing in on building codes, economic development, the Advanced KC, and even towards the end of the year, its work on this issue regarding the city manager's office, structure of city government, and proposal for OAQ. Just appreciating this this body being a voice for the public, hearing community concerns and taking the time to communicate with the council, and making sure that encouraging communication between different entities within the city. I think that's something that the city is continuing to work on, breaking down silos. And I think a lot of that has to do with the great work modeling by this commission and frankly, the staff at OAQ and the folks who have been a part of this climate protection resiliency plan development process. It's not just an effort to address the crisis we face. It's also modeling good governance. So that being said, just focusing on the proposal to move OAQ, hope that this body will continue to be a voice raising its concerns. You all are experts, one for lifting up lived experience of communities and folks who come and offer comments here at these meetings, but also just in your expertise. I think there is a lot more discussion to be had. I think all of us can agree on addressing any sort of issues related to important city offices getting the help they need. I think nobody doubts that these are well-intentioned, but just as was noted by commissioners during this meeting, it sounds like there is opportunity for more robust dialogue, community engagement, and planning. So I would say as a citizen, resident of Kansas City, I fully support the neighborhoods department. I'm excited to see what Director Decker is going to do and supporting its work. Also want to continue supporting OEQ and all of the departments that are working to incorporate aspects of equity, environmental justice and action, and climate action and resilience into their work. I hope that there is more time for the public to weigh in, as it's only kind of, seems that this has been really public since right before the holidays, and that's a difficult time for folks to be involved. I think there will be a lot of opportunity before the budget sessions coming up later this winter and spring. And I just hope that this commission will continue to raise concerns, raise it and share its perspective with city staff, ensuring it's putting its best foot forward, because it seems that right now this has kind of been a rushed process, and it's not necessarily the case that we're doing that despite the intent. But with that, just expressing again appreciation for all that you all do. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Billy. I did want to ask, so were there specific initiatives that they were referring to when they were talking about pushing environmental protection and resiliency and sustainability throughout the departments? Was there anything like specific stated in terms of positioning representatives within departments to be reporting to OEQ, or was that just kind of a general intention?
I would think you could characterize it as more general.
Okay.
I think it's going to be important when we develop our annual report that we are clear about the vision that we have as regarding the need for systemic change to address all of the issues that we face, instead of simply specific actions here and there.
Absolutely.
I agree. Systemic, I don't know, cultural shift. Something way deeper than Western culture seems to be ready for. If you look where the countries where European languages are spoken, those used to be indigenous peoples. I don't know. It's just so large. It's just so large. I don't know what happened to Europeans. Some dreaded sickness happened to them, and
Well,
they spread their venom all over, and sucked up many of the resources and as many of the people as they could, and they still have this mindset, this thing about the people buying up houses, raising the property values so that people who are not, yes, I think everybody sees that on this group. I don't know how to help that shift happen. It's not about humans. It's about the whole community of life. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a huge thing, and it could happen. A shift could happen, but will it? And so a systemic change is okay, but if it comes out of the same mental apparatus that has created everything else, you know, they got rid of slavery, but then look at capitalism. Look what it's done, or how it's been aborted. I'm done.
Is
Not
there
by
any,
them.
is there anybody else that has something they'd like to say? Are we ready to adjourn?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Good night, everybody. We will chat again next month, and probably some of us will chat between.
That's right.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody.
Be well, everyone.
Take care.
Yeah, you too, especially Molly.
I'm better. I'm better.
Yay.
I had pneumonia
Okay.
and COVID.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad you're better.
I'm better. Everybody stay healthy. It may be mild, but it might knock you down.
Well, you'll get back up, right?
Oh yeah, I'm back now. Good thing, because semester starts next week. So
Good to see you.
Yes.
good to see everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.